Considering a lot of people have nostalgia for this movie, you can say for them, it holds a lot of value. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel and another installment in my Addams Family review series, where I talk about all the Addams Family movies, both live action and animated, in the lead up to the new animated film, Addams Family 2. And today we're talking about the second live action film, Addams Family Values. Before we begin, let me know in the comments what your thoughts on this movie were, if you already saw it or if you were planning on seeing it. And make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these reviews, as it helps me out immensely by getting my channel out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases, older films, hidden gems, and so much more on a near daily basis. But let's jump right into it and let's talk about Addams Family Values. This once again focuses on the titular family, who try to rescue their beloved Uncle Fester, played again by Christopher Lloyd, from his gold-digging new love, a black widow named Debbie, played by Joan Cusack. This is written by playwright Paul Rudnick, and it's once again directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, with this being a sequel to his 1991 film. And that film I definitely enjoyed, though I felt like it was something that didn't get to fully utilize the Addams family to their fullest potential. Not that I'm some sort of aficionado on these characters or anything, but I did think the fact that focusing on a story where one of the main characters was suffering from amnesia the entire movie, you didn't know it until the end, and you think he's this lookalike, and it focuses on how strange this character was from everyone else, I just felt it didn't allow for as many opportunities as I would have liked to really focus on the family dynamic, as amusing as I found that film as a whole. This, however, fixes a lot of that. While the family isn't kept together for the entire movie, and there are some moments where stakes are felt, this really played much better into the macabre sense of humor that these characters are known for, heavily leaning into their comedic sensibilities and quirky personalities. The main one who was vastly improved upon here was Christopher Lloyd as Uncle Fester. He goes from being one of the weakest parts of the first film to one of my favorite parts of this. I said in my review of the first movie that Lloyd's someone who definitely has a knack for madcap sense of humor, and here that couldn't be any more on display. Now, this iteration of Fester is someone who can be a little shy around certain people, like in his entire romance subplot, and Lloyd does try to show that he's someone with emotions and not just this one-note cartoon character, but when he's in his element, he is hilarious. Not even because he always says something inherently funny, it's just that Christopher Lloyd's overly enthusiastic delivery and his exaggerated body language make for comedic gold, like whenever he gets himself hyped up over some brilliant scheme or some violent interaction or whatever wacky antics the rest of the family's up to. He manages to match the zany energy of Raul Julia as Gomez, which I didn't think would be possible given how he was in the first film. Now, unlike Lloyd, Julia is just as good here as he was in the first movie, and Gomez is one of the few characters here who I felt honestly did not need any improvements. He's once again played with a lot of bravado, comically announcing everything in an overdramatic voice, and he injects a lot of enthusiasm into the most mundane tasks, and because of that, I had a blast every moment he was on screen. Now, if anything, I'd say if I had to line up the two movies side by side and measure how big of a role he played in each, he may have had a tad less screen time here than he did in the first film, given that this splits its time a lot more evenly among the whole family, whereas in the first film he was much more of the main focus. But it's not like he disappears for these incredibly long stretches of time or anything. And like I said, he's just as much fun in both movies. And Angelica Houston is also a lot of fun here, providing a lot of slick one-liners while also getting in some solid laughs in the way she relishes in every moment she gets to play up the film's darker sense of humor. Like in the opening scene when her new baby's being born and we see she's in agony during the delivery, the way the situation's flipped on its head and we see she's enjoying it so much was hilarious. Now, I've said that there's really only one major joke around the Addams family as characters, no matter the iteration, and that's just the way they enjoy hurting themselves, hurting each other, and doing just about everything that people aren't supposed to like. And all that can lead to them feeling a little repetitive. If you find the right way to tell that joke, it can still feel fresh, and Houston, really along with everyone else, shows how that's possible here. I also like the way in which Christina Ricci was utilized here, as she also gets considerably much more to do this time than in the first film, with Wednesday getting a subplot of her own here. This revolves around her and Pugsley, played once again by Jimmy Workman, getting sent off to camp, where they wreak total havoc, all befriending a young boy named Joel, played by David Krumholtz, who has a crush on Wednesday. Now, this was easily my favorite of all the subplots, just because I thought Ricci did such a fantastic job at deadpan humor, and the film makes sure to make the most out of her here. And the way she'd go at it with anyone who tried messing with her, or really anyone who was friendly with her for that matter, it just got me every time. There's especially a moment towards the latter part of the film that I thought was going to cause the film to age horribly, where the kids have to put on a cringeworthy play about Thanksgiving, and the way she flips the whole thing on its head to give us her own social commentary in a very Addams-like way turned this scene into one of my favorite moments in the film. I also really enjoyed Joan Cusack as this killer nanny, who made for a nice foil to Christopher Lloyd. Now, it's nice to see her in roles like this that are a bit more manic and subversive on the demeanor that I feel she's known for, because what jumps out to me with Joan Cusack are films and shows like School of Rock and Shameless, where she's a bit more reserved. And here, she at first comes off that way, though while also not batting an eye towards just how weird all the Addams are, but we quickly learn of her true intentions, and once we do, unlike the villain of the first movie, she makes for a fantastic antagonist here. She absolutely chews up the scenery, taking command of each and every moment, and having this persona where it's clear she just enjoys being as evil as she is. And I really wish Cusack took on more roles like this because she was just a blast. Now, not only was the cast utilized a lot better here than in the first film, I just think the way the film looks was even an improvement over the original. Now, I thought that film looked solid, but considering the limited nature of the story at times, I felt there was only so much they could show off in terms of its visual aesthetic outside of some one-off gags. But here, with the Addams world expanded, we get to see a lot more of the practical effects being used, especially in different settings, with much more well-done sight gags that blended in nice with the macabre aesthetic. And it looked great. Given that Sonnenfeld started off his career in cinematography, it really shows how he does a nice job of making sure the film has a distinct look. And for the most part, I had an absolute blast with this movie. Like, I found myself giddy with laughter pretty consistently throughout this. The funny thing is, I'd say it was just as consistent with the amount of jokes as the first movie was, but I felt the first film contained more of a string of little humorous moments. But this contained a lot more big laugh-out-loud moments that really stuck with me once the movie's over. Expanding the Addams world the way this does, and allowing them to play off some people outside of their comfort zone who also have distinct personalities of their own, while also just allowing them to be themselves, that was really what this movie needed. Now, if I had any criticisms beyond just a few jokes maybe not being as funny as others, it mainly came down to one of the subplots, which would be the nanny storyline. Now, while I did just say that I really liked Joan Cusack and I enjoyed all the character moments between her and Lloyd, and I stand by all that, if you think about it, this is just a more extreme rehash of something we just did in the first movie. The main reason Cusack wants to kill Fester is to inherit his fortune after marrying him. And I mean, in the first film, it was also about people trying to swindle the Addams out of their fortune, just by taking their house instead of killing them. So this is sorta treading the same waters, just in a different way. Now, I mean, I don't dislike this subplot or anything, because the characters are written so well that I really didn't care that much if it was a little familiar. It honestly winds up not being that big of a deal. It's just noticeable that the story is so-so. Because of just how well written all the characters were and how great the jokes landed, it's really a minor criticism at the end of the day. Plus, whereas that storyline was the entire plot of the first film, I think with the fact that this goes off in a few different directions anyway, and that's only one small part of things, it's not like this winds up being a rehash of the first film, so that was a good thing. Addams Family Values is a major improvement over the first film. This greatly expands the story, sending the family off in a few different directions, but also allowing them to really let loose and be themselves. By playing into all their idiosyncrasies, it gives us a ton of really well-timed dark jokes that feel much more creative in nature. And it's all brought to life by a cast who clearly had an absolute blast, with Julia, Houston, Ricci, Cusack, and Lloyd all shining through here. With the right amount of one-liners, sight gags, and madcap antics, this is a great comedy to watch for the spooky season. Addams Family Values gets an 8.5 out of 10. So stay tuned. Up next in this series will be my review of the third live-action film, the little-seen Addams Family Reunion. But in the meantime, let me know, did you see Addams Family Values, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you used to watch this all the time? Do you prefer it to the first live-action movie? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching, everyone, and keep having fun with film.